In 1974, the streets of Tokyo pulse with curiosity and disbelief. A crowd gathers, eyes wide as a figure emerges, clad in a tattered Imperial Japanese uniform, his presence a ghost from a past long buried. He stands rigidly, saluting with a formality that seems out of place in this modern world. The weight of history hangs heavy in the air as whispers ripple through the crowd, questioning the reality of his existence. This is Hiroo Onoda, a soldier who fought a war that refused to end. His journey began in the jungles of Lubang Island, where he was trained to endure, to survive, and above all, to never surrender. As the echoes of World War II faded in 1945, Onoda remained hidden, convinced that his duty was not yet fulfilled. The world outside moved on, but for him, the fight continued in isolation. Years turned into decades, each day a testament to his unwavering loyalty. The jungle became his home, a place where time lost its meaning, and the line between duty and delusion blurred. But how could a soldier remain committed to a war long declared over? The answer lies in the depths of his training, and the fervent belief that surrender was not an option. As the years passed, the world outside changed drastically. News of peace and surrender reached the island, but Onoda dismissed them as enemy propaganda, a tactic to lure him out of hiding. The jungle, once a sanctuary, became a prison of his own making. Onoda's struggle was not just against an enemy, but against the relentless passage of time and the fading of his own reality. As we delve deeper into this extraordinary tale, we must ask ourselves, what compels a soldier to continue fighting long after the battle has ceased? What binds him to a cause that no longer exists? In 1944, as the tide of war turned against Japan, Hiroo Onoda stood at attention in a dimly lit briefing room. His superiors, clad in military uniforms, conveyed a message steeped in urgency and unwavering loyalty. Onoda listened intently as his commanding officer outlined the mission on Lubang Island. The words echoed in his mind, "You may be out there for years, but you must never surrender." This was not just a directive, it was a vow. As the briefing concluded, Onoda felt a profound sense of duty. The weight of the empire rested on his shoulders. He was not just a soldier, he was a guardian of Japan's honor, a remnant of a fading era. Days turned into weeks as Onoda trained in the art of guerrilla warfare. He learned to navigate the dense jungles of Lubang, mastering survival techniques that would soon become essential for his mission. The Japanese military's grip on the Pacific weakened, but Onoda's resolve remained unshaken. Each day, he honed his skills, preparing for a fight that he believed would define his legacy and that of his country. As the war raged on elsewhere, Onoda received his final orders, to hold the island at all costs. It was a call to arms that resonated deeply within him, igniting a fierce loyalty to his emperor. The jungle became both a sanctuary and a prison. Onoda's commitment to his mission deepened, and he began to see the lush landscape as an extension of his duty, a battleground where he would fight until the end. With each passing day, the reality of the war outside faded from his mind. Onoda's world shrank to the confines of the jungle, where survival became intertwined with the unyielding belief that victory was still possible. As the months dragged on, Onoda's training and indoctrination took root. He was a soldier in a forgotten war, his spirit unbroken, waiting for the moment when he would fulfill his orders, no matter the cost. As American forces stormed Lubang Island in early 1945, the Japanese garrison found itself in disarray. Communication lines crumbled, and confusion spread like wildfire. Hiroo Onoda, along with a handful of comrades, retreated into the dense jungle, convinced that their duty to the emperor remained unfulfilled. The dense foliage of the jungle became both a refuge and a prison. Onoda and his men established a makeshift camp, camouflaged among the undergrowth. Their resolve hardened. They were determined to continue fighting, believing that the war was far from over. Days turned into weeks as they adapted to their new reality. The jungle provided cover, but also constant challenges. Food became scarce, and the sound of distant gunfire only fueled their belief that the battle raged on outside their hidden world. Onoda's training in guerrilla warfare proved invaluable. He meticulously organized patrols, ensuring that his small group remained vigilant. Each rustle of leaves could signal an enemy advance, and every day was a test of their endurance and loyalty to their mission. The isolation weighed heavily on the men. As they moved deeper into the jungle, the outside world faded. News of the war's progress was non-existent, and the only certainty was their commitment to a cause they believed was still alive. As time passed, the jungle became both a sanctuary and a source of torment. The once vibrant camaraderie began to fray as fatigue and hunger took their toll. Each day felt like an eternity, yet Onoda's spirit remained unbroken. Despite their isolation, Onoda clung to the belief that the Emperor would expect them to fight until the end. The jungle, with its dense trees and shadows, became a battleground of loyalty and survival, where surrender was not an option. The months blurred together, and the line between reality and belief began to fade. Onoda and his men relied on their training and each other, convinced that their sacrifices would not be in vain, even as the world outside changed irrevocably. As the jungle closed in around them, Onoda's resolve only deepened. The war, though distant, remained a living entity in his mind. The fight was not over. It was merely a new chapter waiting to unfold. In the dense foliage of Lubang Island, Hiroo Onoda and his remaining comrades navigate a world where survival is dictated by the rhythm of the jungle. Each day begins with the early morning light filtering through the canopy, illuminating their makeshift camp. They rise early, their movements instinctive, driven by a relentless commitment to their mission. The jungle, both sanctuary and prison, envelops them in its verdant embrace, a constant reminder of their isolation. Daily tasks become a ritual of survival. Onoda meticulously repairs his uniform, stitching frayed edges with thread salvaged from the jungle. Each stitch is a testament to his resilience, a reminder that discipline is essential in this unending war. As he works, he reflects on the life he once knew, now replaced by the sounds of rustling leaves and distant animal calls. The jungle is both a home and a haunting reminder of the world outside. Food sources dwindle, forcing Onoda to raid local rice fields under the cover of darkness. Each night, he and his comrades stealthily approach the fields, their hearts pounding with the thrill of danger. They gather what they can, always wary of being discovered. The taste of stolen rice becomes a fleeting victory, a small triumph in a world where every meal is hard-won. Their connection to the land deepens, even as they remain cut off from civilization. As days meld into weeks and weeks into months, the passage of time becomes a blur. Onoda marks the days by the changing seasons, the jungle transforming around him. The vibrant greens of summer give way to the browns of autumn, yet his resolve remains unyielding. Each dawn brings a renewed commitment to the mission, even as the world outside continues to change without him. The jungle becomes a living entity, a constant in his fractured reality. Onoda spends hours studying the ground, reading tracks in the mud left by animals and occasional human visitors. He becomes an expert in the language of the jungle, interpreting signs that hint at life beyond his isolated existence. This keen observation sharpens his instincts, reinforcing his belief that the war continues. The jungle is alive with stories, and he is determined to decipher them, convinced that his duty remains unfulfilled. The rusted rifles, once symbols of power, now require constant care. Onoda polishes the metal with oil extracted from nuts, transforming a mundane task into a sacred ritual. Each rifle is a lifeline, a reminder of his purpose and the fight he believes is still ongoing. He shares this responsibility with his comrades, reinforcing their bond through shared labor. The act of maintenance becomes a form of meditation, grounding him in the chaos of their existence. As the years stretch on, Onoda's comrades begin to falter. The relentless jungle takes its toll, both physically and mentally. Each loss weighs heavily on him, yet he clings to the belief that surrender is not an option. The jungle patrol continues, a solitary march through an unending landscape of green. Onoda's resolve hardens. He is determined to honor the memory of those who fought alongside him, even as the jungle swallows their stories. The isolation deepens, yet Onoda finds solace in the routines he has established. The jungle becomes a familiar companion, a place where he can still feel connected to his purpose. Each day unfolds with the same structure, a comforting predictability in an unpredictable world. He learns to embrace the solitude, finding strength in the discipline that has defined his existence. The war may have changed, but his commitment remains steadfast. As Onoda continues his solitary patrol, the jungle whispers secrets of a world that has moved on. He remains steadfast, convinced that his fight is not over. The sounds of the jungle become a symphony of determination, echoing his unwavering loyalty. Each rustle of leaves and distant call of wildlife reinforces his resolve. The jungle may be a prison, but for Onoda, it is also a sanctuary where he can remain true to his beliefs. In the dense jungles of Lubang Island, Hiroo Onoda and his remaining comrades discover a series of airdropped leaflets fluttering to the ground. They are filled with announcements of Japan's surrender, yet Onoda's instincts tell him these are deceptive tactics from the enemy. Days pass as Onoda meticulously studies the leaflets, convinced they are part of a larger American strategy to demoralize Japanese soldiers. Each word is scrutinized, each claim met with skepticism, reinforcing his belief that the war still rages on. The jungle echoes with the sounds of distant loudspeakers, broadcasting messages of peace and surrender. To Onoda, these announcements feel like a taunt, a calculated attempt to lure him out of hiding. His resolve only hardens. Newspapers, too, find their way into the jungle, carried by the wind or local villagers. Onoda sees them as propaganda, dismissing the headlines that declare the war over as mere fabrications designed to mislead him. As months turn into years, the world outside continues to change. The jungle remains a timeless fortress for Onoda, where the outside realities of peace and surrender feel like distant echoes, irrelevant to his mission. Onoda's comrades, weary from years of isolation, begin to question their purpose. Some express doubts about the war, but Onoda's unwavering loyalty to his orders keeps them tethered to the past. The jungle, once a sanctuary, now feels like a prison. Onoda's mind is a battleground of loyalty and doubt, where the whispers of surrender clash with his ingrained sense of duty to the emperor. Despite the overwhelming evidence of peace, Onoda's resolve remains unbroken. The jungle is his reality, and he clings to the belief that his mission is not yet complete, that the fight continues. As the seasons change, so too does the landscape around him. Yet for Onoda, time is suspended. The jungle is both a refuge and a reminder of a war that refuses to fade from his consciousness. As the jungle thickens around him, Onoda feels the weight of solitude. His comrades, once a source of strength, are now dwindling. Each loss chips away at his resolve, yet he clings to the belief that the war continues. In 1972, a sudden confrontation shatters the fragile balance of Onoda's existence. Kozuka, his last companion, is killed during a skirmish with local police. The jungle, once a refuge, now feels like a tomb. With Kozuka gone, Onoda's patrols become increasingly desperate. He wanders through the underbrush, convinced that enemy soldiers are lurking nearby, ready to ambush him at any moment. Days stretch into weeks, and Onoda's routine becomes a relentless cycle of searching and hiding. He scavenges for food, relying on his training to sustain himself, yet the isolation gnaws at his spirit. The jungle, once a vibrant battlefield, now feels oppressive and silent. Onoda's mind races with memories of his comrades, each face a reminder of the loyalty that binds him to this forgotten fight. As the years pass, Onoda's sense of time becomes distorted. The jungle's rhythms are his only companions, and he begins to question the very nature of his mission, yet surrender remains unthinkable. In the absence of his comrades, Onoda's thoughts turn inward. The jungle whispers secrets of survival, but the echoes of camaraderie haunt him, a constant reminder of what he has lost. Despite the overwhelming solitude, Onoda's resolve hardens. He continues to patrol the island, convinced that the war is still being waged, driven by a sense of duty that feels increasingly like a burden. As 1974 approaches, Onoda remains entrenched in his beliefs. The jungle, once a battleground, now serves as both prison and sanctuary, holding him captive to a war that refuses to end. In the spring of 1974, Norio Suzuki, a young adventurer, embarks on an extraordinary journey into the dense jungles of Lubang Island. His quest is unconventional: to find the elusive Hiroo Onoda, a soldier lost to time, alongside tales of a panda and the abominable snowman. Suzuki's enthusiasm contrasts sharply with the desolation of Onoda's world. As he treks deeper into the wilderness, He imagines the soldier's life, isolated and vigilant, convinced the war still rages around him, unaware of the passage of decades. After days of searching, Suzuki encounters local villagers who share stories of a mysterious soldier living in the jungle. They speak in hushed tones, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination about the man who refuses to surrender. Finally, in a clearing, Suzuki spots Onoda. The soldier stands tall, clad in a tattered uniform, holding a rifle, his posture disciplined and alert. The two men lock eyes, bridging the gap between two worlds separated by time and belief. Onoda, still convinced of his duty, greets Suzuki with a wary demeanor. He listens to the traveler's tales of the outside world, yet remains unmoved, bound by the oath he took years before, a soldier in a war that has long ceased. Suzuki learns that Onoda will not surrender unless he is officially relieved of duty by his former commanding officer. This revelation deepens the complexity of their encounter, as Suzuki realizes the depth of Onoda's commitment to his mission. The two men engage in discussions that span hours, bridging the chasm between a lost soldier and a curious traveler. Suzuki shares stories of Japan's transformation, while Onoda clings to his memories of a world that no longer exists. As the day fades, Suzuki vows to return with proof of Onoda's release. The soldier, still resolute, prepares to continue his watch, a guardian of a forgotten past, while Suzuki sets out, determined to bridge two eras. In March 1974, Major Taniguchi, now a civilian, arrives on Lubang Island, carrying the weight of a promise made decades earlier. He walks through dense foliage, his heart heavy with the responsibility of ending Onoda's long conflict. Onoda, still clad in his tattered uniform, stands at attention, a relic of a bygone era. The jungle around him, once a battleground, now feels like a prison as he awaits the release from duty he has long desired. When Taniguchi finally reaches him, the two men share a moment that transcends time. Taniguchi's voice breaks the silence, formally relieving Onoda of his duty, a gesture that echoes through the years of conflict. As the words sink in, Onoda's stoic demeanor crumbles. Tears stream down his face, the weight of 29 years of fighting in isolation pouring out in a moment of profound release and sorrow. Onoda's surrender marks not just the end of his personal war, but also a poignant reflection on loyalty and the devastating cost of an unyielding commitment to duty. The jungle, once his refuge, now feels foreign. Returning to Japan, Onoda faces a world transformed. The country he fought for has changed dramatically, and he must reconcile his past with a present that feels both familiar and utterly strange. In the years that follow, Onoda grapples with his legacy. His story becomes a complex narrative of devotion and tragedy, a testament to the human spirit's endurance against the backdrop of a forgotten war. Onoda's journey poses a haunting question. How long can a war persist within a man's mind? His life, a vivid reminder of the scars left by conflict, echoes the struggles of many who fought for ideals long gone.